I'm Meranda Squires, and I run the Lotus Center here in St. John's, Newfoundland. I started the Lotus Center when I returned from India in 2000. The lotus is a very interesting flower that grows. It comes from the muck in the bottom of a pond. And all of us have a past. All of us have things that have happened to us, good, bad, whatever. And it's in our subconscious, and it runs us. But when we start to do a practice, a conscious practice, there is this energy, this urge, this compulsion to move towards the light. So we're all like the lotus flower, deep down in underneath the mud, but there is this call from the divine calling us to come forth, and we want to come forth and blossom and express the truth of who we are. And this is the beauty that we want to share with each other, because when we share who we really are, no matter what we look like, what we felt like, but the sharing itself is the yoga. When I was 16 years old, I was living in Toronto, and I was going to an alternative school. And I was young, and I was also still a very strong, deep seeker, even at the age of 16. So I came across a poster in a bookstore that invited me on this journey, and we call it Sham Space. And Sham Space just meaning, Sham is the name of my teacher, Swami Sham, and space meaning the space of liberation, the formless aspect of our true self. And so since I connected with many other friends in Toronto, that's when I made that decision that I was going to go to India. So a couple of years later, I actually made it to India. I was a dancer here in Newfoundland, and I also trained with the Toronto Dance Theatre when I was living in Toronto. So I came back and I started dance here in St. John's. And when I went to India, the beautiful part was that we were encouraged to share our artistic talents in all kinds of ways. What I've been wanting to do is share with you some of my experiences that I had with my guru living in a spiritual community, Swami Sham, in Kullu, Himachal Pradesh. And we had a community there in India where, you know, it started in the 70s, I think it was. We came, and I arrived in India in 1983. And that's when my deeper spiritual journey began. And I was young, I was 20. I was eager to learn about my own depth of spiritual seeking. I wanted to know who I am. And I also wanted to be in a community with like minds. And it was a fabulous opportunity for me to grow and be in that type of community where we're always talking and exploring and meditating and reading the scriptures, studying the scriptures. Our conversations would always be about more of the yogic perspective of how to evolve our consciousness. And what does yoga mean anyway? Yoga is the union of, from the physical reality that we live in, and we are meeting our higher, truer self, which is non-form. But when the two come together, that makes masters. And so this is a journey about me in my youth, just sort of like a little baby almost, just trying to express and articulate what I was understanding from the words that I heard my guru say, from the talks and the discussions that I had with my friends, and from the scriptures that I was reading and studying at the time. And so when we go into the deep states of meditation and the deep understanding, when we hear another speak, we hear them speak from their essence and not from their personality, not from their ego. So what I'm sharing with you is this journey of learning, of growing, of developing, evolving. And I want to share it with you because you also have a past. And everything you've done up to now made you who you are today. And that thing about revering the teacher, well, we want to revere ourselves. We want to respect and honor everything that's ever happened to us because it's happening to us for our evolution. And the deepest point here is that in the deepest secret is that there's nothing really happening. It's just a big show of your higher true self. And it's just an expression of lots of colors and shapes and forms, but you in your essence is what's shining. Everything else is just in constant change, but you on the essence level never change. And now this is an opportunity as you watch me go through my past and my journey, then you get to think about when you look at another being, they've had a past. They have something precious to offer to the world. Go ahead and ask them a couple of questions and invite them to speak about something that they believed in and that maybe they transformed from that. There is so much that you can do with others around you that will draw them out and bring us into a higher state of unity consciousness.
There is, in the midst of silence, in the midst of sounds, a voice of purity. There is, in the midst of darkness, in the midst of light, a color of space. There is, in the midst of matter, in the midst of the abstract, a form of formlessness. Very descriptive in her manner. She actually describes the word upside down by standing on her head. And of course, her student never ever forgot the word upside down again. It just totally opens up into a vast kind of space. And this is the same kind of feeling I had living in the lighthouse, because it has the same kind of sense and feeling that anybody who comes there has that sense of vastness and openness. Our own mental system, which is what's happening every day in satsang. I was thinking about, like, there's two levels or two types of change that can happen within a human being. And one is on the surface level, like you're on a surface level, on the personality level, and you can change so many things on that level with the thoughts and actions and everything. But what I was really seeing is that there is a fundamental change that's happening, and that Swamiji's guiding us, and that's on the level of not just changing the thoughts and ideas, but basically changing the whole condition of the mind and leading it towards the fulfillment very much identified with. And I was appreciating how much Swamiji is for the soul, for the being, and for the God consciousness within a being. And he was speaking that the whole society is impressing upon Keter, all of us, I guess, that we should be something, we should grow into something, or whenever we are well enough, then we should go back into the work situation. And I was thinking very much about how Swamiji has created a situation for the aware beings of the world, where we are well enough, but we are well enough to venture into what is the deepest and the highest work. And I was thinking that he's making us all come to a point where what love really is that we want to love our freedom more than any object, any person, anything, any happening, any hope, any expectation. And this is something that's been growing and developing so much in me that I feel that I'm coming to a point where freedom is so important, and so I can't live without that freedom state of consciousness, that I cannot compromise it in any way. That if I was always the witness or the one who is the experiencer, then I wouldn't be caught in the one who is experiencing. And the one who is experiencing, that one is always learning something new and will always be a student to the world. But the experiencer is always the master. And I think that was one of my major revelations when I was away. Normally, when we understand perfection and we say it's all perfect or everything will work out really well, we think, well, things will go according to my idea or my concept. And but Swamiji has a very sort of more or less blown perception of what that perfection is. It's sort of like when you're looking on the screen and you see all these images, and if you identify with the images on the screen, then there's a tendency to think that you hope that the events and the situations will turn out according to your idea and they will go well. But how I'm understanding now, what Swamiji's understanding is that the perfection is as soon as the light going onto the screen is turned off, all you have left is that screen, that pure consciousness. And so when we see that it's that screen behind, or that pure space behind all the activities, then and we hold that during all the activities, then that sense of perfection will enlighten our whole being, and so everything will always be perfect, no matter whatever happens. So. Well, I'm really, really excited today to welcome each member of my family. I've been overwhelmed actually in the last few days. It's sort of like when your family comes, you get into a whole bubble of your family. And I wanted to, for those of you who don't know my family, my father, he's Jerry Squires, and he's an artist, and he's quite well known across the country, especially in Newfoundland, and with all of us here. And he's been working a lot in the last year just to come here. Well, after tonight's showing, I started to feel how fortunate I was to have been brought up in this particular family, and how God has allowed me to be born into a family of artists. And I know Swamiji has said many times how the artist is the closest being to the yogi, and I feel personally that this family of artists, as myself, I created dance, and my sister Esther was very much into music, and my mother Gail into pottery, and so it all kind of inspired the soul to mature further into that what I understand now as God consciousness. And my journey, as Jerry was saying, this is his spiritual journey, and he has displayed it to all of us. I feel that I think that every being who is on this spiritual journey needs to express, and I feel that I expressed through dance, and now, now that I've come here in the company of Swamiji, I feel that my journey has even blossomed more, and the expression now is through satsang, through communication of the highest knowledge. And I see now that the whole family is here, and that really delights my heart. And I see now also that my father's journey, as he was saying, and that all of you have said, that his paintings have come to a point of light, and light is the symbol of formlessness. And so it started with form, and now it's matured more and more towards formless. And this space here that we have all experienced tonight, watching the progression from form to formless, I feel that it's kind of a peak experience for all of us, and myself. And I'm so happy that my father can also experience that with Guru. And he has no sense of duality or anything holding aside. And I was thinking that one way to just check to see how much we're able to live that Guru consciousness is when we have someone come in front of us, how much can we include that person in ourselves? And if when that person leaves, do we have an effect or a residual effect of duality? I must say that whenever I dance for Swamiji, my whole being expresses more than it's ever expressed in my whole life. And I really, really appreciate whenever Swamiji speaks, even after we dance, that it reminds me again and again how the human mind, the tendency of the human mind is to always go out. And dance is an expression of the being. But when Guru speaks, he brings the attention back again. When I asked Swamiji a while back, when I arrived, the day I arrived, I asked, is there a way to communicate that knowledge of the space without using words? And he said, well, of course, you just shine and you just emanate. And the other day, Swamiji said to me that the thing to meditate on is that which is real. And many thoughts have been going around in my head, and watching where, well, the first thing that I think, okay, in order to create a realness in my system, or a reality in my system, is to watch how the thought process goes back towards the source. And Swamiji has given many, many names for that process, and one of the names is the experiencer. And so when I meditate on the experiencer, many things sort of I think about. I think, well, okay, well, I'm the experiencer experiencing many things, many situations, and there's a whole kind of, there's still a sense that I still have a chance to experience something because I like the sense of something happening. Earlier about how the child can see God, and how a grown-up doesn't have the ability to see God. He's lost the sight of God, and he becomes mind, and he just sees the world in front of him. It reminded me of something that Swamiji just gave me, a really wonderful trick to help bring the consciousness back to that vision of God like a child has. And he said, wait, watch, and see. And I love that so much, because ordinarily, without the process of meditation, a human being is always acting on the thought that is received by him. And he believes that the thought is real, and therefore he'll go out and act and believe in it, and later on he may regret the consequences of his action. Last time I had an interaction with you, Swamiji, I was expressing my concern about having too much confidence, and you had said, well, you have to know from where that confidence is coming from. And that you have to know the purpose or the purpose of all the forms and people and situations, that the purpose is to lead to liberation. And that if I know that, and that the purpose is to be free from pain and suffering, then I've already understood, and the confidence is fine, is perfect, and that's the realized state. I have this idea that I'm the space, and I've been thinking about this for all years, that I've been meditating that I'm the space. But what I saw was that this idea of being the space, I attributed to this body and to this mind, to the point where that I thought I was limitless. I thought that I was flexible, and I had the capacity to adjust and adapt to the environment around me, and that I could stretch myself. And all the qualities of the space I attributed to this form and this personality. And I saw that it was in the wrong place, the wrong identity. I realized that experience never really fulfills the ego. And when we realize that, then we realize that God is the only thing that is happening, and that there is no ego to talk about, really, in that sense. And that when you know that it's just God that's happening, that whatever is happening so-called in the experience, then the experience can only lead you to that realization that there is only God, and that's liberation.
I hope you enjoyed watching my spiritual journey in my 17 years living in India with my community and my teacher. So now this is your turn to shine and blossom and express and share who you really are.
God never closes the door without opening another. God never closes the door without opening